Have you ever loved someone who kept you waiting? Someone who never said goodbye, but never really stayed either? They text you one day like you're the only person who matters, and then disappear for days as if you never existed. You try to convince yourself they just need time, that maybe they're afraid of love, or maybe they've been hurt before. So you keep showing up. You keep trying. You keep loving them in the hope that one day they'll love you back the same way. But deep down, a quiet voice inside you whispers, they can't, they won't, and you already know that. Today, we're talking about the hardest truth in love. Why you keep falling for emotionally unavailable people, and how to finally stop. Because you deserve a love that doesn't leave you guessing. A love that feels like peace, not confusion. A love that stays. Before we begin, take a deep breath. In through your nose and out through your heart. You don't need to fix anything right now. You just need to listen and recognize yourself in these words, because awareness is the beginning of healing. You meet someone new. They seem mysterious, a little distant, but you tell yourself that's just part of their charm. They open up slowly, maybe just enough to make you feel special. They say things like, "I'm not good at expressing emotions," or "I've just been through a lot. I don't trust easily." And instead of hearing a warning, you hear a challenge. You think, maybe I can be the one who heals them. Maybe I can love them enough to make them feel safe. And that's how it begins, the emotional chase. You start giving more. You start adjusting, waiting, explaining, forgiving. You start reading between the lines of their silence. And every time they pull away, you try harder to pull them back. Because a part of you believes, if you love deeply enough, they'll finally choose you. But they don't. They give you breadcrumbs, just enough to keep you from walking away, but never enough to make you feel secure. And slowly, you start disappearing in that love. The truth is, it's not random. You're not unlucky in love. And it's not that all the good ones are taken. There's a reason you're drawn to emotionally unavailable people. And it usually starts long before you met them. It starts in your past, maybe in childhood, maybe in your first heartbreak, maybe in that one relationship that taught you to equate love with pain. Psychologists call it the repetition compulsion, the subconscious urge to recreate familiar emotional patterns, even when they hurt us. If love once meant waiting, you'll find yourself waiting again. If affection once came with distance, you'll be drawn to those who keep their distance. If attention once felt earned, you'll keep trying to earn it, over and over. It's not your fault. Your nervous system learned that inconsistency means love. And now, even though it hurts, it feels safe. Because that's what you know. You see, emotionally unavailable people aren't always bad people. Sometimes they're just broken in places you can't reach. They've built walls not because they hate love, but because love once hurt them so deeply that they learned to survive without it. They fear vulnerability like it's fire. They long for connection, but freeze when it's finally in front of them. They may seem confident, composed, even charming, but inside, they're terrified that if they open their hearts, everything they've held together will fall apart. And you, with your open heart, your empathy, your warmth. You see their pain. You believe you can love them into healing. But healing doesn't happen that way. You cannot love someone into emotional availability, because emotional unavailability isn't cured by your love. It's healed only when the person chooses to face their own fear of intimacy. And that's the hardest truth to accept. Let's talk about what happens inside you when you fall for someone like this. When you connect with an emotionally unavailable person, your nervous system goes into confusion. You get just enough warmth to feel hope, but never enough stability to feel safe. It's like being on a roller coaster, a rush of affection one day and cold silence the next. That inconsistency becomes addictive. Your brain releases dopamine during the highs, and when they withdraw, your body craves that dopamine again. It's not love. It's a chemical loop of hope and withdrawal. And somewhere along the way, you start believing that if you just try harder, love deeper, understand them better, they'll finally see your worth. But you forget. Love was never meant to be earned through pain. It was meant to flow, not to be chased. Let's talk psychology for a moment. Many of us who fall for unavailable partners carry something deep inside called anxious attachment. It's that ache that whispers, "If I love you enough, you won't leave me." We often learned this pattern long ago, maybe from a parent who was emotionally distant, or love that felt conditional. Available one moment, gone the next. So now, when someone gives us that same inconsistency, our inner child feels familiar. And familiarity feels like home, even when it hurts. But here's something powerful. You are not your attachment style. You are not your trauma. You can break the cycle. Healing begins the moment you stop chasing and start observing. When you pause and ask yourself, what am I actually trying to get from this person? Is it love or is it validation? Because sometimes we don't chase the person, we chase the feeling of being chosen. Let's reframe something together. When they pull away, it's not a sign that you're unlovable. It's a reflection of their capacity, not your worth. You cannot force someone to meet you where they have never been. You cannot teach intimacy to someone still fighting their own vulnerability. And that's okay, because letting go isn't rejection, it's redirection. It's life saying, your heart deserves peace, not confusion. So, let's go deeper. What does emotionally unavailable really look like in everyday life? They might say, I'm just bad at texting. But in reality, they're avoiding consistent emotional investment. They might say, I'm not ready for something serious right now. But they'll still take your time, your affection, your energy, until you realize not ready really means not willing. They might even open up about their pain, making you feel special, like you're the only one who understands. And that's where the hook sinks deeper. Because now your empathy becomes the bridge they walk across to avoid facing their own pain. And when they pull away again, you're left standing on that bridge alone. Here's the truth you need to remember. You cannot connect with someone who keeps their emotions locked away. You can only connect with the mask they allow you to see. And the more you try to break through that mask, the more you lose yourself in the process. That's how emotional unavailability steals your peace. Quietly, slowly, lovingly. But you're not weak for caring. You're not foolish for falling. You were just trying to love someone who didn't know how to receive it. That's not a flaw. That's your humanity. And I want you to know you can love deeply and protect your peace. Both can exist. From now on, let's make a pact, you and I. You will no longer chase love that runs away. You will no longer beg for clarity from confusion. You will no longer prove your worth to someone who can't see it. Instead, you'll learn to sit with your loneliness without rushing to fill it. You'll start nurturing the parts of you that used to seek rescue, because that's where true healing begins. Not in finding someone new, but in finding yourself again. When you begin to feel that pull, that ache that says, maybe this time they'll change, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I hoping to get from someone who keeps showing me their limits? That question alone can save you months, sometimes years of silent suffering, because clarity is not found in their mixed signals. It's found in your willingness to see the truth. You deserve a love that feels like exhale, not one that keeps you holding your breath. Let's take a moment. Close your eyes if you can. Take a slow, deep breath in and exhale slowly. Now say to yourself, I am safe to love and I am safe to let go. You've carried so much, the hope, the confusion, the pain, and if you're listening right now, it means a part of you is ready to stop repeating the same story, ready to break free. Step 1, see the pattern without shame. The first step toward healing is awareness without blame. Don't hate yourself for falling for emotionally unavailable people. You were just following a pattern, a subconscious script written long ago. It says, if I love hard enough, I'll finally be chosen. If I'm patient enough, they'll finally stay. But those beliefs were never the truth. They were just the echoes of your unmet needs. You learned that love was something to earn. Now you're learning that love is something to receive. And that shift, that quiet inner awakening, is where your healing truly begins. Step 2, understand the emotional root. Every attraction has an emotional root, and the pull toward emotionally unavailable people often comes from an old wound, the wound of emotional deprivation. Maybe you had to earn attention growing up. Maybe you were loved conditionally, only when you behaved, achieved, or pleased. Maybe one parent was distant, unpredictable, or emotionally cold. So now, when someone gives you that same energy, half love, half silence, your nervous system says, this feels familiar. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to heal it. Because until you do, your mind will keep calling this chemistry, when in truth, it's trauma recognition. Step 3, redefine what chemistry means. Let's be honest, stability feels boring when you've been used to chaos. Consistency feels strange when you've lived on emotional adrenaline. So when you meet someone healthy, someone who texts back, who's emotionally present, who doesn't make you guess, your nervous system might actually reject it. You might say, I just don't feel the spark. But that spark you're missing, that's not love. That's anxiety disguised as passion. So from now on, I want you to redefine chemistry. Chemistry isn't butterflies and overthinking. It's calmness that feels safe. It's conversations that don't leave you doubting yourself. It's love that grows, not burns. Step 4, strengthen your boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They're the gates that protect your peace. When someone shows inconsistency, you don't have to prove your worth by staying. You can choose to walk away. When someone says, I'm not ready, believe them the first time. You don't have to decode mixed signals or read between the lines. Emotionally healthy love is clear. not confusing. Start practicing these small but powerful sentences. I need consistency to feel safe. If you're unsure, I'll step back. My peace is not up for negotiation. Every time you say these words, you teach your nervous system what safety feels like.
Step 5. Rewire your mind with self-compassion. Healing from emotional unavailability isn't just about who you date, it's about how you treat yourself. You cannot attract emotional presence from others while being emotionally absent from yourself. So start showing up for you, daily, lovingly, intentionally. When you feel that ache, don't reach for the person who hurt you. Reach for your journal. Write what you wish they'd say to you and say it to yourself. When you crave their validation, remind yourself, I am already enough. I don't need to be chosen to have value. And when you feel lonely, don't rush to fill the silence. Sit in it. Let it speak. Because that silence isn't emptiness. It's space for your healing. Step 6. Learn what real love looks like. Real love doesn't trigger your anxiety, it soothes it. Real love doesn't make you guess, it makes you certain. Real love doesn't pull away when things get deep, it leans in. If you've never experienced that before, it may feel uncomfortable at first. But remember, peace feels foreign when you've only known survival. Still, it's what your heart has always deserved. So stop romanticizing the one who keeps you waiting and start appreciating the one who shows up. Stop chasing closure from the emotionally unavailable and start giving yourself permission to move on. And if you're listening and thinking, but what if they come back? Then here's the truth. People return when they sense your energy shifting, but that doesn't mean they've changed. Sometimes they come back to see if they still have access to you. Sometimes it's not love, it's control. So when they return, check not their words, but their consistency, because love isn't proven in promises, it's proven in patterns. Step 7. Reconnect with yourself. Now that you're stepping away from unhealthy love, you might feel emptiness at first, like a void inside your heart. But that emptiness is not loneliness. It's space. Space that was once occupied by pain. Fill it slowly. With yourself. Do things that remind you who you are outside of relationships. Rediscover your hobbies, your peace, your joy. Write affirmations that reprogram your mind. I am capable of giving and receiving healthy love. I am no longer chasing people who confused me. I attract peace, presence, and emotional maturity. Repeat these daily, not because they're magic words, but because they slowly rebuild your subconscious self-worth. Step 8. Practice emotional regulation. You can't stop attraction instantly, but you can regulate your reaction. When you feel drawn to someone distant, pause. Don't react immediately. Ask yourself, is this love or am I trying to feel enough again? Then breathe. Ground yourself. Touch something around you. Feel your heartbeat and remind yourself, I am safe in my own company. You can't heal what you keep chasing. You can only heal what you learn to sit with. And now, let's talk about forgiveness. Not forgiveness for them, forgiveness for you. Forgive yourself for ignoring the red flags, for confusing potential with love, for hoping they'd change, for holding on when you knew it was time to let go. You didn't stay because you were weak. You stayed because you believed in love. And that belief, that soft, unbroken hope, is not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be redirected. Keep that love. Just change where you pour it. And finally, step 9, the new love standard. From now on, this is your new standard. If it feels like peace, it's right. If it feels like anxiety, it's not. If they communicate clearly, that's love. If you're always confused, that's a lesson. And if they want you, you won't have to guess. You will not chase, beg, or convince anymore. You will not lose yourself trying to earn love, because real love is not a battle. It's a homecoming.
Now, here are few affirmations for healing. Repeat after me, slowly, intentionally. I release the need to fix people who are not ready to be healed. I choose myself, even when it feels unfamiliar. I deserve consistency, honesty, and emotional safety. I attract love that aligns with my peace. I am no longer addicted to the idea of being chosen. I am love. I am healing. I am whole. You're learning to become emotionally available to yourself, and that's the most powerful love of all. Because once you start meeting your own needs, you stop settling for half-hearted love from anyone else. I remember the day I finally said goodbye. Not the kind of goodbye that comes with anger, but the kind that arrives quietly, like dawn after a long, dark night. There were no tears this time, just peace. A kind of peace I hadn't felt in years. I didn't block, I didn't beg, I didn't explain. I simply let go. Not because they changed, but because I did. That's the thing about healing. You don't always notice it happening. It's quiet, subtle, like your soul stitching itself back together in silence. For so long, I thought love was supposed to hurt a little, that I had to fight for it, prove myself, earn it, that if I loved someone enough, they'd finally learn how to love me back. But one day, I just got tired. Tired of decoding silence. Tired of being too understanding. Tired of calling inconsistency chemistry. And somewhere between the pain and the peace, I realized I wasn't healing because they came back. I was healing because I stopped waiting for them to. You see, healing doesn't begin when someone apologizes. It begins when you stop needing the apology. You start understanding that closure isn't a conversation, it's a decision. A decision to stop reopening doors that only lead to the same kind of pain. I used to think I missed them, but I didn't. I missed how I felt when I believed they loved me. I missed the fantasy of what I hoped we could be. And when I realized that, I finally stopped chasing ghosts. Because that's what emotionally unavailable people are. They're like ghosts, present enough to haunt you, but absent enough to never hold you. And you can't build a life with someone who's only halfway there. So, I started building one with myself. I took myself out for coffee, watched movies alone, sat in silence without picking up my phone. At first, it felt awkward, like I was trying to fall in love with a stranger. But then I realized that stranger was me. The version of me I had abandoned while trying to love someone else. And slowly, things began to change. I stopped overthinking unanswered messages. I stopped craving validation. I started sleeping better. My playlists changed. My thoughts softened. Because healing isn't a straight line. It's the quiet return to yourself,
piece by piece, breath by breath. Psychologically, what happens in this stage is powerful. Your nervous system begins to trust peace again. You start to feel safe in stillness. You stop chasing adrenaline from toxic love. Your body begins to relax, and for the first time in years, you realize that calm is not boredom, it's safety. That silence isn't rejection, it's protection.
And the truth is, you were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong person. Emotionally unavailable people don't love less. They just love differently. And that difference often means distance. So don't hate them. Don't label them monsters. They're just mirrors, showing you the parts of yourself still waiting for love, attention, and healing. They came into your life to teach you where you were still abandoning yourself. And now you've learned. Now you know that love shouldn't make you question your worth. It should remind you of it. Love shouldn't make you chase clarity. It should be clarity. And real love, the kind that feels like home, will never ask you to shrink yourself to fit someone else's comfort. Tonight, if you find yourself missing someone who couldn't love you back, don't shame yourself. Just whisper gently, "I understand why I loved you, and I understand why I must let you go." That's not weakness. That's maturity. That's emotional growth. Because letting go isn't forgetting, it's remembering without the pain. One day, you'll meet someone new, and it won't feel like fireworks or chaos. It'll feel like still water, calm, grounded, real. They'll listen when you speak. They'll show up when they say they will. They'll love you not because they need to, but because they choose to. And when that day comes, you'll look back and realize the version of you who used to beg for love was the one who taught you how to receive it. You'll realize that the heartbreak you thought would destroy you was actually your initiation into becoming whole. So tonight, before you sleep, I want you to say this to yourself. I am no longer chasing love that hurts. I am becoming the kind of love that heals. I am no longer seeking emotional rescue. I am becoming my own safe place. I am no longer waiting to be chosen. I already am. This is your healing era, your rebirth, the chapter where you finally stop waiting for someone to love you and start learning to love yourself the way you always wanted to be loved. Because in the end, you don't lose when you walk away from emotional unavailability. You win back your peace. You win back your heart. You win back you. If this talk resonated with your soul, if it felt like a mirror to your own journey, then stay close. Because here on Relationship Bloom, we don't just talk about heartbreak. We talk about healing. We talk about reclaiming your power, your peace, your emotional freedom. So if you haven't yet, hit subscribe. Join this growing community of hearts that are learning, healing, and blooming together. Share this episode with someone who's been loving someone emotionally unavailable. Maybe they just need to hear that it's okay to let go. And as always, remember, my beautiful soul, the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you build with yourself. Until next time, take a deep breath and keep blooming.